Now, I don't know if I'm alone here, but in cinema, the only thing for me that's better than a perfect opening is a perfect ending. There are merely a handful of movies that I've seen over the course of my rather short life that offer up the prophesized perfect ending. The most recent example of the perfect ending for me was found in last year's Noah Baumbach film, Marriage Story. What I cherish and adore about this movie's conclusion isn't just the execution of it, but rather how it perfectly addresses and concludes the movie's thematic focus on ego, pride, and selfishness. On paper, Marriage Story should not evoke this strange feeling of optimism. At the end of the day, you must remember that this is still a movie about two frustrating people going through a complicated and messy divorce. It should be hostile, intense even, but optimistic, hopeful. This consistent idea of a better tomorrow is present throughout Marriage Story. A recurring line in the movie is, and I quote,
"Eventually this will all be over."
The hostility and eruptive nature of divorce is somewhat missing from this film. Well, apart from this one scene.
You're such a dick!
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead!
What I love about Marriage Story is how the film never vilifies either party. Charlie is not painted as this absent father, and Nicole is not portrayed as this insane and overbearing mother. To varying degrees, they are both in the wrong. This belief that both of Marriage Story's leads are wrong is actually why the film's ending is so damn good. It takes everything we've learnt about these two characters over the last few hours and condenses it into a final 5 minutes that, in real simple terms, just works. Personally, I love endings that are akin to bookends, end where it began, have Adam Driver swallow his tears, that sort of thing. Throughout Marriage Story, we see how Nicole and Charlie feel about one another. There is a consistent desire to keep the peace, whether it is for their son Henry or because deep down they still have feelings for one another, but are both too stubborn and egotistical to say anything about said feelings. A great example of this can be found at the start of the film, when Charlie and Nicole's mediator asks them to write letters citing all that they love about their respective partner. Of course, neither of them want to do this, but they write the letters anyway, they just do not read them out aloud. However, we as the audience, through a very clever narrative device known as voiceover, do hear it, and it's beautiful, and it shows that these two characters do still have feelings for one another. Even after the characters erupt and come clean about their disdain for one another, the two cannot help but apologize. This is a central error in their characters. In the final 5 minutes of the film, after the divorce has been finalized, Charlie discovers Nicole's letter from the start of the film, something he never saw nor bothered to ask for. As Charlie reads the letter out aloud, we see the regret and anger wash over his face. It is almost as if in this moment he finally saw what we, the audience, saw all along. These people simply did not communicate with each other. It's in this moment that Charlie realizes here that if he had been a little more open and considerate, he would probably still be with Nicole. He could have been a supportive husband, helping her achieve her dream of directing instead of being this jealous, slimy, gross douche. Had this happened before, there may never have been a messy divorce or custody battle. Instead of sleeping in separate beds in different homes, they might be dressing up as the Beatles together, instead of Nicole's new boyfriend. Judging by Nicole's reaction to Charlie's reading of the letter, we can see that she feels this regret as well. If she had just spoken and stood up for what she believed in, they could have had a chance. It's an ending that is soul-crushing but perfect in its deliverance of the director's thematic focus on ego, pride, and selfishness, and how these things can often ruin beautiful and special things. If anything, Marriage Story crafts an excellent lesson in communication and how fundamental that is in any relationship of any kind. It's a perfect ending to me because we see how different it could have been. We see the love that Charlie and Nicole still have for one another. We see the respective altruism, the humility between these two characters. Fortunately, however, it was just a little too late.